This week on Carlie's Couch, we are interviewing Carlie herself. So tune in to see where Carlie is in her life at this point, 2022. So Carlie.
Hey y'all. Hey Lexi.
Hey Lexi. It seems like when you're the interviewee, your voice gets extra southern. That's just my observations here, but I'm gonna let you.
I mean, it's either that or that mezcalrita or whatever I just said.
Oh, where is it?
Done, baby.
Oh. Right. I was like, oh. Right, getting a little more loose. First of all, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We've really been enjoying having you all participate and engage outside of just listening, but leaving comments and 5 stars and ratings as well. So we do appreciate all of you who have been loyal listeners and new listeners as well. I think over time we see different people come in and leave comments and stuff for us as well. So definitely have appreciated seeing the different faces.
Mm-hmm. And I was looking at our downloads because we get statistics and all that from our downloads and things. We had a couple listeners in Russia, and I was like, is this like a farm? Like, you know, or whatever. But we had the most downloads we've had ever, actually. One of our episodes in May. So,
oh, cool. Well, that's good. So shout out to us. Thank you. And so we want to also, do a little introduction. It's important sometimes to reintroduce yourselves, bring it back to us and talk about like who we are, what we're doing right now. So last week, Carlie interviewed me and asked me all questions all about my business. So this week, we're going to be talking to Carlie and just checking in with where she is at this time in her life. Ready? Mm-hmm. All right. So my first question for you, Carlie, in the past, in a couple of different episodes, we've talked about kind of having like a word or intention for the year. What was or is yours for 2022 if you did one?
I did. It took me a while to find it because normally they're right at the top of my head or like, I just feel it. Because I'm one of those people, I go by, feeling. And I didn't have one until March, I think. But it hit me. I was driving to go teach and I just dropped off some hoe butters at the post office and it was like hot and the sun was beaming and I was eating watermelon, like a fresh watermelon I had cut up, and I was just vibing on the drive and I was like, man, this is so nourishing. And I was like, oh wow, that's my word this year is nourish. Like I only want to be in relationships and situations. I only want to do things where I feel nourished.
Oh, that's a word. You could preach off that. That's a good one. Nourishment. And that's like a little something different than what we always kind of like say, I think, when you talk about these types of things. So it took you a while to get to that point. But I guess that just hit you so hard that you felt like, that's what I'm going to stick with.
Oh, yeah. I literally was driving. I was so enjoying everything that was happening. And as I was eating the watermelon, it was like fresh out the fridge too. So it was cold. It was hot outside. I was like, man, I feel so nourished and so blessed. And I was like, oh, that's it. Like, I only want to feel like this.
Okay. So then let's talk about how nourishment is playing that role and how that's been rolling out for you in these different areas of your life. So you just mentioned whole butters as far as you taking those to the post office. So for those who may not know, what is whole butters?
Whole butters are all natural, organic, holistic body butters, mango butter, shea butter, jojoba oil, and coconut oil. And yeah, apparently they're great for curls and beards, but I created them for your skin because I just love that moment that I have with myself of like rubbing lotion in. I hate being dry. Like when I was little, I could not go to sleep. If my feet were dry, my mom would be so irritated with me. But like I always had to have lotion. And so as I got older, I started being more cognizant of all the things we put on our bodies and that the things we put on, like that Bath and Body Works was bad, like all the stuff in those lotions. And so I wanted to, share something I had been doing for myself for a long time. Like in Dallas, I started doing body scrubs for myself and face scrubs and lip scrubs and masks. And then it led into lotions and body butters. Forgot about it. But during the pandemic, I was like, let me just start making these again. I really enjoyed it. I got a lot of extra time at the crib. And then somebody tried it and was like, man, why don't you sell these? And I was like, you know what? That's the idea.
So you made them for you at first?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, just for myself. Okay.
So then what has that journey looked like from, maybe I should try to make these and like maybe starting to make bigger batches or even thinking about like, what is this going to be called? What is this going to really be? Did you all of a sudden, like you just knew what all it was going to be or how did that like roll out?
Well, so actually, the body butter rollout wasn't my first idea to launch as like a self-care brand. So everything I do is around holistic health and wellness, but most of it's services. It's teaching, it's being in person with people, it's, more hands-on type of thing. I've never done products, never thought I would ever venture into products just because it seemed kind of like, I don't know. It seems like it's a lot to, get done the logistics.
Real vendorish and broke on the
You know
corner.
what I'm saying? Like, I ain't trying to be that person. Like, whole butter for you, please. But
in the mall trying to put something on
like, let me use some people just rubbing, like, oh, God. But no, I actually wanted to launch. I have these self-care experience products that I'm launching soon. And that was my first thought. I was so excited about it. But then I realized that it just wasn't all together. Similar to me not having my word, it wasn't coming together. And I was like, man, I feel like I'm forcing this right now. And I was like, man, why don't I just start with body butters? That's something I know that I want to do. And let's do that. And so I didn't know how it would look. But first I knew I needed to get a formula that was consistent. And I was like, okay, but what formula do I like? What do I want to use? And so I started making, my house was a laboratory. It was Cece's laboratory. And I did, I think, 18 batches before I figured out which one I wanted to do. And I tried all kinds of different stuff with cocoa butter and jojoba oil and sunflower oil. And I did almond oil, but then I thought about people with nut allergies and, all different stuff. And then 18 batches later, I figured out what I wanted to do. Still didn't have an idea about like the size or the containers. I was like buying containers off of Amazon. If you're doing products, don't do that. They be getting your ass.
Yep.
But yeah, so once I got the actual formula down, then I was like, okay, let me find the actual containers. And then let me find this. And then let me start designing the labels. At that time, I still didn't know what they were called. But actually, one of my friends was joking with me, shout out to them, one day, like, man, you over there making whole butters? And teased me about it. And I was like, there's something to this. And they were like, you can't call something like HOE butter. I was like, no, HEAUX.
Take it to New Orleans.
Exactly. Take it to New Orleans on them. But also, it's a play off of holistic. Everything I do is holistic health and wellness. And I think that a big part of holistic health and wellness is, intimacy with others, with yourself. It's, your routines with you. So why not include a little bit of with our holistic?
Isn't that always like so much fun when something kind of just comes to you, whether it's from somebody else or it just comes to you, but then you can connect to all those things like, oh, holistic. And like, you can like put it all together and be like, oh, that does have a story. So it's nice when you have a story because it feels like, okay, this is really it. You said something earlier about like feeling like you're kind of forcing it. Talk about what that looks like to maybe have a bigger vision, but how you still have to figure out like where to actually start or like what to do.
No, that's a great question. Man, still trying to figure that out in my whole life, but I'm glad that I have a great example for this one. So, specifically for anything in life, I'm really guided by how connected I feel to it. And like, I just like know in my gut, like when I know that something is ready, just like I knew nourishment was my word. I just knew that I wanted to do these products. But I started running into issues when I was like trying to define everything I wanted to include in my packages. And then I was going back and forth on, well, no, what about this? And I just found myself like falling down rabbit holes of like doing research and trying to compare and do other things. And anytime I noticed myself like going more outside of myself for answers, I was like, oh, there's something. Yeah, I need to check back in with myself. And so, I took a step back from products altogether. It was just living life. And I was like, well, let me actually, yeah, I have all the pieces of the butters. I think, to be honest with myself, I knew that in the beginning, but I was a little bit fearful just because it's so different than what I've been doing. I'm like, what I look like launching a random ass body butter project in the middle of the panini and, all kind of stuff. So I think that I was kind of doubting myself. But then I was like, no, I believe in it. Like, I like it. Like, let's just see if other people do.
Yeah, and what's interesting out of what you just said there, too, is sometimes it seems like it could have been a thing of, like, we try to over-research a thing or, like, try to over-plan it. And it sounds like you almost got to, like, a paralysis because it's like you're thinking about too much stuff. What was it that finally kind of just sparked you to, like, really do it, though?
Yeah, because I started my 18 batches. I started back in August of 2020. I didn't launch until August of 2021, but I had figured out my butter formula back in like March or April of 2021. And then I kept tinkering with the labels and I kept tinkering with my launch thing. And I was like, man, I don't have enough people on my email list and I don't have my marketing put together. And I just kept on telling myself all these reasons why I couldn't. And I got tired of listening to myself one day, to be honest. I was like, bro, either you going to do it right now or we're just going to stop talking about it. And so I was like, okay, let's launch on, I think it was 8/21/22 or 8/21/21. I was like, let's just do it. Like, I don't care. And then I also found out, because I'm one of those people who also see symbols and everything. I was like, oh, it was like a lion's full moon. And like, you know, it was all this stuff on the same day.
I hopped in CoStar real quick. Let me check this launch date. See what's going on.
It's right after I had decided. I was like, look, I'm going to give myself 3 days and I'm just going to put it out there and it's just going to be what it is. And I can get better, but I'll never be able to get better to learn how to improve something if I don't just put it into the world. And so I just gave myself 3 days and I was like, well, here we go.
Yeah. Sometimes you do just got to do that. So did you learn anything then from like starting launching through the next few months?
Oh my God. I've learned so many things. There's so many things you don't know, but that's the cool thing about actually starting something, because we can all fall into that analysis paralysis. Too much research. You're on Google. You think you're an expert, but you don't know until you actually go play tennis. Like, you can look up how to play and you can read about it all day, but until you're actually on a court, you don't know how to do it. And so in launching, I realized I launched, but I didn't have any packages to package them and send them. And I was like, oh, slow girl. And so I was like, okay. So I started going to box stores. So I finally got my boxes and I was like, man, it's kind of hot outside. I don't want them to melt. Okay, they probably should go in some type of bag so they're not, because I hate when I get packages and there's greasy stuff on the outside. Like, I am incensed. And so I was like, okay, how can I avoid that? And I was like, man, there's also this insulation because it's so hot, especially in LA and Texas and a lot of the places I'm shipping to. Let me do that. Oh man, I can also put this kind of cool little touch on it. So I started learning, had boxed up all my orders. I was like, wait, how do I get my shipping labels? And so then I was like, well, damn, I guess I got to buy like a printer, because I was trying to find, like, go to the library and print them. And then that just wasn't working. And I was getting stressed out because I was like, it's been a week and I haven't shipped them. People are going to start like winning their money back. I was having a meltdown.
That's why we don't support
exactly.
businesses.
You know what I'm saying? And nobody knows this, but I was like having a meltdown. And then one of my best friends, he called me and he was like, hey, how you doing? I was just like, I'm not shipping them. And I was supposed to ship them today. He was like, why don't you ship them tomorrow? And I was like, well, because he was like, you just launched a business. Nobody's going to be mad at you, bro. Like, it's okay. You know, and so I just learned, first of all, you just have to leap, because you don't know what you don't know until you're in the mix. So that's the first thing of this very long-winded exercise. Second is, like, even though you do research, like, it's not going to be relevant to you, and you might actually be wasting a lot of time just researching, because I would watch endless videos. Even after I already have my formula, like, maybe I can improve it. Let me watch all these other people make body butters. Girl, why? You got your stuff that you like. They didn't actually teach you nothing new. And I realized a lot of them actually had bad information afterwards. And so, yeah, trust yourself a little bit. And it's okay if you mess up. I think the last thing is that it doesn't have to be perfect before you do something. And that's kind of the fun part. You have to learn to, like, laugh at those moments when you don't have it all together. And then you also have to just be okay with, you know, kind of building a plane as you flying it.
Yeah, I love that, because it sounds, again, like it's like just take a step. And once you take a step, that's when you realize what you need to do next. So instead of even trying to, like, lay it all out, it's just like, just go and let it work out. So I'm glad it sounds like that worked out. Now, once you started doing that, you're getting more and more into it. What place does Whole Butters take, like, within the work that you're doing now? And, like, because I know most folks might have known you for, like you said, doing, like, meditations and training and things like that. So are you looking to make this the main thing? Are you trying to make it bigger? Is it just like, hey, when I get some orders, cool?
Great question. I've been going back and forth with this, but right now it's the biggest thing. It's where my most passion is. And so I'm being driven by where that is. I'm actually taking a step back from teaching classes in person. I'm still teaching all my personal clients, you know, meditation, yoga, personal training, all that stuff. I'm still doing that, but, and I also still teach with a nonprofit. I teach mindfulness and holistic fitness, health and wellness to a group of adults with learning and developmental disabilities, which I love. So those are my people, but my main focus and all my energy is going towards Whole Butters and holistic, HEAUX, holistic, right now, because that's just where my heart is. Like, I get most excited when I think about that.
What makes you so excited about that, you think?
I think because My problem that I was running into being a solopreneur and an entrepreneur who teaches services is I was running into not being able to scale myself. And I was running myself into the ground trying to serve everybody, and I was exhausted. And so I was like, how can I love on more people and share the things that I'm doing in addition to all the things I already am? Like, I already have YouTube videos. I already, do stuff on social media. Like, how else can I love on people? And I feel like after sharing Whole Butters and having people reach back out to me and tell me, how big of a part of their journey it's become, or, even them seeing me do it, how that's inspiring them. I'm like, oh man, products are a way that I can actually love on people from afar. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's a cool way to share my journey and share all the things that I believe in, with people who I might not ever meet.
No, yeah, that is fair. And it's interesting because it really is like whatever you're actually excited about, you do put more like love and care into. You might have more impact because of that, as opposed to anytime we're doing something where it's just like, this again, or I got to wake up today and do this and that. And I think people can tell. So that's really good to have that enjoyment there. I hope that enjoyment stays with you as you continue to grow in the product space. So if your brand is like holistic wellness, and this is all about taking time to take care of yourselves, etc., how have you in this last year, like starting Whole Butters and, even moving like through the pandemic and everything, what has kind of that up and down look like for your own kind of self journey?
Ooh, baby. The beginning of the pandemic just amazingly found me at like a rock bottom. Like, I was ending a relationship. I was just feeling all the things. All of my like trauma and all of my, negative personal narratives and things that was working to overcome. Like, anytime there's a breakup, it kind of just amplifies everything else. And so I was just really feeling so low. Like, I just remember like I would cry so much, and that's on top of the pandemic. And I'm like very sensitive to energy. So it's just a lot going on for me as a person. But now I would say I'm at my best I've ever been, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's definitely been like a very sharp up and down the whole way with a little curves and stuff in between, but still steadily inclining the whole way. I think that, the beginning, like that, literally that February was when the breakup happened, and then March was when the world shut down. And I'm grateful for the time to stop and tune into myself and really actually have to sit with myself, because I'm one of those people who runs around so much that I didn't even have time to realize that I, wasn't facing some things. And so whenever the world shut down, I was like, oh, hello, all these things I haven't been dealing with. And, through physical fitness, through meditation, through therapy, through podcasting and journaling and walking around outside, all of the things I talk about in my self-care journey, like all of that's like really helped me get to where I am right now.
Man, when we think about it, like a lot of stuff has happened in the last couple of years. Like pandemic, obviously, like crazy shifts. The whites running up in the
Did they act like didn't happen?
Like getting off of Trump elections, like
all of the protests.
Even now, a lot of protesting. Even now, like with all of these like gun violence and things, and it's just like there's always so much going on. How empathetic are you as a person? Like, does all of this stuff around the world affect you and make it harder for you as an entrepreneur to like, have that weight and the weight of your own work and like maybe work issues and other things with family relationships, etc.? Like, where does the most like weights come from?
I do feel things very heavily, like when like there's a lot of energy. So COVID and the school shootings, and like not to make those things about me, but I very much feel the energy and like am very impacted. But I would say my biggest weights would be probably for the people that I care about a lot. Like I tend to carry a lot for them, but that's also been a big shift over the past 2 years, which is why I'm kind of just like meh about it right now, is that I've learned that, being an empath doesn't mean I have to take on other people's things. And that has been a game changer because girl, in like any type of service, I end up being a low-key therapist, and by no means am I saying that I do their job or I'm as good at nothing, but like people share, people love to talk, they love to be heard, they need those spaces, and when you hold a lot of space, you pick up a lot of energy. And I remember when I first did my yoga teacher training, I asked them, how do you clear your energy? Because afterwards, people will come up to you and tell you their whole life story. They're depressed, their mom died, their dog died, they lost their job, they're broke, they about to get kicked out their house. right after a yoga class and you about to go into another class and you're like, so, you know, I've just learned to empathize with them, but not to take it on. And what that looks like is, one is I have people in my life who notice when I'm doing it and they're like, hey, you falling into it, sis. Why are you caring so much about this right now? Like, that's not your weight to carry. Like, give it back to her, let it go. But also just making sure I stay up on my own personal care. Like, if I'm not taking care of myself, I will get blown off kilter by anybody else's stuff I try to like hold space for. And so I've been much more set in my boundaries about like, if I don't have space, I'll be like, hey, I don't have it right now, but can I call you back in a couple of days? Or I'll just say like, hey, I can, you know, listen for a little bit, come back later. Or no, actually I don't have the space this week. I love you though. Like, you are so supportive, but I just don't have the space this week.
Yeah, I'm glad you went into that because you did say something a little earlier that made me think about that, and why I was kind of glad you went down that road, because I do feel like you used to talk more about, or things would be more based around like you helping other people or dealing with other people or listening to other people all the time. Do people still reach out to you as much? Like, do you feel that it's shifted a little bit how much people reach out to you, or that you just maybe have a little bit more of a different boundary?
People still reach out. I will be in a coffee shop minding my own business, and people come up. Somebody asked me for a hug because they liked my energy, which it might be a creepy thing.
I hate when people do stuff like that.
Yeah, but then people
like
will, like, I'm at freaking Trader Joe's and somebody will start telling me their life story, and I'm like, how did I get here? I'm much better with boundaries. I'm much better with boundaries, and I think that's all the difference in the world. It's like, now, but also, you know, what you put out into the universe respects. So now that I'm better at boundaries, like, people don't ever press me about it. They don't ever push them. They very much respect them and encourage me to respect my own boundaries whenever I notice that I'm falling off.
That's good. Well, that's good to have other people too who know like what you're trying to do, so they can kind of help catch you as well. What is your life looking like, as far as I know you live by yourself?
Amen.
How do you divvy up your time with other human beings?
Ooh, great question. I need a lot of alone time. I'm really great with people.
Have you always though?
Yeah, I'm an only child, and I grew up being alone most of the time. Like, my mom, you know, always had 2-3 jobs, so I was always by myself. So I didn't realize that I needed that until I got into college and like wasn't really by myself, and I would be so irritated or drained, and I couldn't figure out why. And then as I've learned myself, I'm like, oh, I really need this time. And so my time is divvied up. The mornings are for me. They're not like, I have like an hour at least every morning that's just for me, for meditation, for whatever I need to do in that moment. If I need to go run, if I want to read a book, if I want to just drink my coffee and sit and listen to silence, that's that. I set aside time for my clients and to, you know, answer questions for emails for clients, but also to be in person with them. Like 2 days a week, I am front, like, client facing, and 3 days I'm not, which is nice. That's a huge change. I used to see clients every single day almost, and now it's 2 days a week. Yes, they're long, but after that, yeah, y'all ain't got me after that. That's everything else. That's all my laptop work. I can answer emails, but I'm only seeing people 2 days a week, and that's been beautiful for my energy, because it's exhausting when you have to create space and hold space as a teacher for people all day long.
Yeah, I can imagine. Probably like being in Zooms all day, and it's like you don't want to do this every day. So what does it look like then for you to, with your schedule and routine now, like what else do you feel might need to change, or is there anything that you can identify that you do want it to be different?
Eventually, I want to teach only because I want to teach. I would like to teach more corporate clients and using my gifts and ways to touch more people on different levels. So that would look like, less personal training, less one-on-one type of services, less things like that in the future. I've still got at least, like I think 6 months I feel comfortable and like committed and want to do that.
So for you, it's like literally how you spend your time and like how you're spending your work hours is what you would want to change.
Yeah. And then the question was to change them just how I want to.
Like, yeah, anything in your routine. Now you're like, I wish there was something kind of different, like with my routine or with the way my week goes.
I mean, mine is pretty flexible. Like, it's very flexible. And the benefit of having only personal training clients really is like, if I need to cancel my day for a self-care day, all of them are canceled. And they understand, because I have the same policy with them. And so my days are pretty flexible. I actually really enjoy how much flexibility I have right now, because I'm like, I can go to the beach this morning and then come back and podcast or, do whatever we want to do. And so I really enjoy where it is right now. The flexibility I would like to see is to be in another country whenever I want to. And so building towards that.
Can't you do that as a training?
Yeah, because of training. But I also really enjoy what I do. And so maybe it's just, train them on Monday, leave, and then come back next Monday. Or a beautiful revelation that I've had over the past 2 years is like, I can hire people to teach whenever I'm gone or when I don't want to do that, like for my clients. And that has been so nice to not only expand their exposure to other holistic health and wellness practitioners, Black, brown, male, woman, non-binary, and otherwise, because they need to see that and experience people other than me, but also, to get my friends paid. It's been so nice.
Yeah, but you asked me a lot of questions about team and building a team. Do you feel that you eventually want to have a team in whatever space it may be, but do you feel like that's where you want to go, to where you're actually managing more people?
Yes and no. I don't want to have to be the day-to-day manager of people, so maybe I'll hire somebody to do that. But I notice, like, as I'm scaling my butters, I'm actually talking to a team of people right now who could start making them for me and shipping them out for me. And so that would be, a team that I'd have to teach and manage. And I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. And then also having like admin, like a virtual assistant to help me do all those things. So yes and no. I don't want to have to do day-to-day management, because the day-to-day stuff burns me. That's what killed me about having a 9-to-5, which was really a 6-to-6. But that's what burned me about being an engineer, is the day-to-day shit. Hated it. So hiring somebody to help me do that.
But I will say that is one of the things where that's where things change, is like when you start bringing more people in, it's like now there is more of that stuff that has to be done to make sure like that it is a well-oiled machine. And so that's why, as businesses grow and take a shape of their own, it's like, that's why people kind of can fall out of it or whatever, because it's like, you don't like this part, I just want to do this. But like you already said, you're just identifying the places you do want to put somebody. So you already know what to do. It's just a matter of when you get there. No, maybe not even doing it. You might not even need to do it now either. Like, you don't have to rush a team unless it's like, hey, I'm getting more speaking engagements now. So it's like, let me spend more of my days getting that check while y'all do this for me. But if you can do it all, do it all. Flexibility is incredible, and that's super a blessing. Right now, what would you say is something that still kind of gets you down? Like, is there anything or any space where you're still like, man, like it keeps happening, like a rut that you kind of in?
Bruh. Welcome to my therapy sessions. Yeah, I feel like because I'm such a self-aware person, and sometimes to a fault, it's like cool because I'm noticing all of the growth I'm having, like in situations with relationships and business where I used to have issues, but I'm noticing that they're still coming up, and I get so frustrated with myself that it's still coming up, that then it just starts to ruin other things in my life. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, for example, let's say like with, the person that I'm dating that, I feel a type of way about something, but I've already been talking about that in therapy and working through it. When I feel that way, I get mad at myself for feeling that way, which doesn't make sense. And then that just exacerbates like everything else in my life. And so it becomes this like vicious cycle of just irritating things, because it's like, I know what's happening. So I say like, that's probably one area. It's just like me getting mad at myself. So I'm really working on it, but it still happens. And then another one, something that gets me down is, like, I'm not where I want to be able to do all the things that I want to do, like take care of my mom and do different things. Like, I'm just not there yet. And it hurts like that I can't do the things that I want to do.
Does it feel like a lot of pressure, like as we get older for you? Does it feel like more pressure to, like, I guess, air quote, like have it all together? Or, I don't know if you already had kind of marks in your mind of where you want it to be, but for sure, I know just looking around at what you could do right now, always, but there's always that what you could do.
Yeah.
So like how do you deal with that pressure?
I just remind myself, it's like, one, girl, I thought I was going to be married before I was 25 and have kids before I was 30. So I'm not an old mom. Thank God that didn't freaking happen. So I have to remind myself, like, those goals and things I set were arbitrary. And although I have places where I want to be, my life has been so incredible. And there's so many amazing things happening that there's no way I could have seen or predicted or planned for. And so anytime I notice that, it's just, the positive reinforcement. And using a lot of the evidence, like Stevon talks about, when with imposter syndrome, like using a lot of the evidence, like, girl, like, look at,
So good.
man, he's
He's
great.
one of my favorite people to like just have stayed connected with from the podcast that I met. So shout out to him.
He be aggressive every morning though, like, dog, you don't take a break, it's a holiday. But so just being kind to myself, which I know sounds silly, but it really actually works, because beating yourself up doesn't get you anywhere ever. And then giving myself evidence, and then also being so strict about my routine that I'm more balanced to start with. So even when those thoughts arise, because we can't stop negative thoughts from happening, or feelings or any of that stuff, like, I'm more balanced and come from a healthier place to deal with them by taking care of myself.
So what are the keys for your happiness? Like, is it and overall just taking care of yourself?
Yeah, as I'll say, taking care of myself, making sure I'm sleeping good, exercising, eating well, all those things we talk about. But then also making sure my schedule has, space for adventure, because I really like spontaneous, like, man, I'm gonna go to the beach today, or I'm gonna go hiking, or I'm gonna go do whatever, get a tattoo, I'm gonna go do something. Like, I like being able to kind of move around and do different stuff, and then also just spend time with people that I love. Like, that's so necessary for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you feel any pressures around having a family, or like, so really, having a relationship, be at a certain space, and any of those things?
Not really. I do think that I have a question within myself, like, do I want to have kids? Is it selfish to have kids right now in this crazy ass world that we live in? So I just feel unsure of exactly what I want, because I've always thought that, like, man, I'm gonna be a bomb ass mom. I'm be great, and if I do choose to have kids, I am gonna be a bomb ass mama. But now I'm like, I don't even know if I want to have kids, or if that's in my future. So I'm kind of sitting with that. I have no answers. But with the relationship, I'm just like, letting things flow. And from a much healthier place than I ever have before. So before I was like, oh, I'm just letting it flow because either they didn't want a relationship, and I was like lying to myself to stay in this situation and try to get this person to want things. And now it really is just like, let's just see what happens.
How do you know?
That I'm in a healthier place.
How do you know that you are just being like, oh, let's see what happens, and that you're not really in the back of your mind, you really just hope for a certain outcome?
That's a really good question.
Or maybe I shouldn't even say how do you know, but like do you really feel confident in that? Because I just say that because a lot of times I'll question, like, just because we know what we, like, air quote, should be doing, it's like, all right, I still really want XYZ. So, like, what's the balance of, like, do you really feel like you're free of that, or that you are just more cognizant of?
I feel like I do eventually, want a partner to share my life with. I feel like I'm open, like actually open to when and how that happens, and kind of what the journey looks like to get there. I have actually taken the limits off what that has to look like, and I'm constantly unlearning all of our socialized, like, norms around what relationships have to look like to be successful. But I will say I am very well respected, very well loved, nourished in my relationship, and so I feel good about that. So I, it's checking my boxes right now, and the moment it doesn't, I'm in a place to actually speak up and say something or walk away. Good. And that's cool too.
Good. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought back Nourish, because it sounds like with going into new work endeavors, or recognizing the things you do and don't want to do, that you just are feeling more nourished. Your relationships seem like they are more nourishing. How will you know, I guess, going into the end of this year that, yep, like, I really stuck to this word of being nourished? Like, is there anything else that you want to happen, or that you see in the near future that would be like, this would seal the deal on me doing what I wanted to do this year?
Very good question. I would know I was nourished by feeling, because like I said, that's what inspired the whole thing. So how I feel at the end of the year. But I will know that I did that if I kept my word to myself. So if I do keep up my routines, if I do launch this next batch of products, which I'm about to, if I if I'm true to, letting go and shedding the things that I don't want to do anymore, which is like me teaching classes. I only teach one now, and pretty soon, goodbye. And not because I don't love people, but because I love myself more. And so just making sure that I stay true to that.
All right. So basically sticking to what your plan has been. So you've had a plan and you've just been slowly transitioning out. And I think that's important to recognize too, that everything's not like some super fast thing, or it's not like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you just stop. And that's life of that. It may take a minute to really want to leave certain people or, certain clients and partners and things like that, or even to change like your brand and adding a new logo here and there, and like all those things are scary. So definitely, as we wrap up with you, want to we commend you. Who is we? Who is we? Me. Me and my other personality. I commend you, Carlie, for all the work that you've been doing to have a vision and then to move towards that. I think progress always feels good, and like steps always feel good, no matter how fast they are, no matter how deep it is, or if you have to scale back and like, let me just focus on this one thing, because now you actually see something moving that gives you like your confidence and also builds up, and creates momentum. And so definitely continue to ride the wave of momentum. And congratulations on Whole Butters. Tell everybody, I know you had spelled it out one time, so I was going to make sure you did that. But tell everybody where they can check out kind of this new line and the products that you're working on now.
Absolutely. And thanks for interviewing me. It feels so good to be on this side of the session.
Look, I didn't have to even ask you stuff. You would be like, this is what happened. And then the 3 things I learned. I was like, all right, girl, you got it. You got it.
Y'all can find me at Holistic, HeauxListic.com. And sign up for my email list so that y'all can be abreast of all of the new products, and also check out Whole Butters. Everything sits on the site, as well as the new products that are about to launch. Can find me on social media at Holistically Dope, HolisticallyDope. Thought about changing that too, but I was like, look, you're doing a lot, sis. Yeah. And everything's linked together. So if you go to my personal site, my business site, whatever, it's all going to get you to holistic.com. So go check that out. If you haven't bought a butter, you ashy, so go ahead and get some. And let me know what you think of it.
Disrespectful, but you probably are. And they're good too. I love them. I have to I run through them pretty quick though, because it's like I like to really like, if I'm gonna use it, I gotta really use it. Yeah. So I've tried, I think, all of the different scents, and I like them a lot. So they are really good. And then I've had a few people try them as well from mine. So it's definitely a good product. Do recommend.
Yeah, see? Real life customer. So definitely check me out there. Let me know, what you think. I'm always listening to feedback. I am the only person behind it right now, so I'm answering all the things. Leave me some reviews if you do.
Do you get like a lot of questions and stuff, or not really?
The question I get asked the most is this for men and women?
Oh.
And
Which is interesting. Why would you need to ask that, I wonder?
I think because my branding skews like more towards pastel type colors, which is actually based on sunset and sunrise.
You got to put sport and make it blue for the boys.
You know what I'm saying?
But I guess it's interesting because you're like, all right, it's a cream. So like, why would
it's a lotion.
It's for skin.
But then I also get questions about lotion in general. Because apparently some people don't wear lotion. And I say that like very straight face because.
So what kind of questions though? Like,
it's like.
What do you do with this?
Yeah. Like, when do I put it on? How much do I use? Can men wear this? I'm like, my first question, because to one of my friends, I'm not disrespectful to people I don't know. I was like, you don't wear lotion?
Right.
And he was like, no. And I was like, okay. Well,
so we got to take this all the way back.
This might not be the product for you, but if you do, so that's probably what I get.
You don't wear lotion.
For real. Look.
I mean, if you moisturize, you might not need to, but as for me in my house, I need a little bit of some kind of butter, some shea,
something.
Yeah, something to get up in there. All right. Well, thank you, Carlie. Any other tip, gem, word of advice that you have for us? You usually have a little something.
Man, I do.
That might be on your heart today.
Man, using all my language
and then
today.
We gotta go. We late.
Yeah, we do. We late. I would say, remember to take moments for yourself. 2 things. One is take a moment for yourself in between events or meetings or whenever you're transitioning. Like, seriously, sit in your car or sit somewhere for 5 minutes and just take a breath for yourself. It does numbers for clearing your headspace and resetting your energy. And the second thing is to do something to bring yourself joy every single day. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be small. It can be large. It can be buying yourself a coffee. It can be buying yourself a trip. Whatever you need to do, going outside, getting sunshine, do one thing that brings yourself joy every day and watch how it changes your life.
Just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Thank you, Carlie, for being on the show. Oh, you're always on the show. Thank you for being the interviewee today. Thank you all for listening, and definitely leave comments, questions, whatever you have for Carlie this week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.